Greetings of the day to all our viewers, especially our teachers who tirelessly help our students learn in the classrooms. According to Aristotle, those who educate children are more to be honored than parents, for these only gave life, those, meaning the teachers, the art of living well. So you see how honored are our teachers from those days. So our topic of discussion for this webinar is Quality Teaching and Learning of English Language, a responsive curriculum and support training. In other words, this webinar focuses on the importance of a responsive type of curriculum and training for quality teaching and learning in the classroom. Now, what is a responsive type of curriculum? I'm sure you are very curious to know that, but that is what you have been implementing in your classroom because our training is based on a responsive type of curriculum. For everybody's reference, a responsive curriculum addresses the changing needs of students, bridging the gap between universal knowledge and theories on one hand, and contextual, continuously changing realities of everyday life and the world of work on the other hand. All right. So this refers to the changes that Ministry of Education has made to the English language curriculum, basing it on CEFR, and also the changes made by the Ministry of Education during the pandemic. Okay. So we are implementing responsive type of curriculum in our system. Anyway, let's listen to what the experts have to say on how teachers are supported to implement a responsive type of curriculum for English language teaching and learning in the classroom. This discussion will also include the way forward to ensure quality teaching and learning of English language for our students. I, Chitra Adyodi, one of the panel members of the English Language Standards and Quality Council, will be the moderator for this session. And with us today, we have a panel of experts, all of them who are familiar to you. Let me introduce them to you. We have with us Prof. Dr. Raja Nor Safinas Raja Harun from University Pendidikan Sultan Idris. She is a professor at the English Language and Literature Department, Faculty of Languages and Communication in UPSI. Next, our expert is Dr. Hamida Samshuddin, fondly called Dr. Mid, and she is our expert in pre-service teacher training for both early childhood education and primary. She is currently the Deputy Director of Institute Pendidikan Guru, Campus Bahasa Antarabangsa. And last but not least, Dr. Kalminderjit Kaur Gurcharan Singh, popularly known as Dr. Mindy, the Deputy Director of the English Language Teaching Center, an institution that is responsible for providing continuous professional development for in-service English language teachers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our discussion. We will begin with the current scenario in teacher training for English language. Dr. Mick, we will begin with you. Since you are the person for early childhood and primary, how are our pre-service, preschool and primary teachers trained for English language teaching and learning?
Thank you very much for the introduction, Dr. Chitra. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon, everyone. Right, talking about the pre-service, pre-service curriculum framework document produced as part of the Cambridge Malaysia 5-year collaboration plan aims to further improve the program and address some critical issues brought about by the increasingly globalized economy and the requirement for sufficient English skills to compete at the global level. As you can see in the slides, right? The key principles in the curriculum framework development, as well as the 6 evaluation criteria. Right, taking into account the key principles as well as the evaluation criteria. So as you can, the framework is as such, right? Take the 8 principles and the 6 evaluation criteria. From there, we come up with the framework. Okay, can we move on to the next slide, the framework? Okay, the framework is based on 4 areas of competence: teaching, learning, and assessment, subject, context, and curriculum knowledge, competence in English, and finally, the practical is the 4th pillar there. Okay, so there are 8 transverse areas of competence distributed across the program, as you can see on the left side. And these include reflection, collaboration, digital skills, research and inquiry, independent learning, critical thinking, creativity, innovation, and communication. Right, IPG is now in the implementation stage. Okay, after developing the framework, we come up with the curriculum, the program, the subjects or the courses. Yeah, so IPG is now in the implementation stage. Our preparatory program has started in 2021, while our degree program has just recently started in August. Our Bachelor of Teaching, the ECE, and also TESOL program consists of a wide range of courses appropriate for preschool and primary school teachers. With blended learning, which is inclusive of guided face-to-face interaction, non-face-to-face mode of delivery, and also the independent learning components, we develop pre-service teachers into becoming autonomous learners. And in line with 21st century education practices, ICT has become the major focus in running the program. A variety of ICT skills, including digital tools, integrated into courses, encourage student teachers to explore the range of resources and activities available for use in classroom teaching and in any authentic situations. I would like to mention on one important consideration in the curriculum is bridging theory and practice. So they link on knowledge of theories related to teaching new ideas, concepts, frameworks, and learning processes, and apply those in authentic teaching situations. The curriculum, indeed, responds to the current needs and changing landscape of the teaching learning context. In addition, the revised program is designed to include CFR-aligned courses to further enhance the effectiveness in teaching delivery and learning capacity, hence provide a strong foundation for pre-service teachers. For ECE trainees, they are trained to becoming practitioners in a bilingual context. As for TESOL pre-service teachers, language is both the subject content and the medium, and understanding language is therefore a critical part of teachers' knowledge and skills. So the different courses allow their engagement in appropriate language learning experience to help them function effectively in English in the learning during the program and future teaching context. Another component that I want to mention is the professional practice, which is essential component for student teachers to have strong basis in teaching practice. Right, in IPG, we have 2 phases of school-based experience, 2 phases of practicum, right? For ECE in particular, one practicum will be going to kindergarten and the other one will be in preschool. Well, an internship then concludes the professional practice in the final semester of the program. In addition to the pedagogical knowledge, the new curriculum provides opportunities for trainees to enhance their thinking skills through reflection and inquiry. This is made possible through critical engagement, discussions, and collaboration. Pedagogical capacity for deep learning, or what we mentioned as KPPB, right? That we adopt at present is an avenue for pre-service teachers to be activators of learning. They basically unpack and repack the curriculum content. So this leads to creation of new knowledge and involvement in research and innovation, which also develop awareness of different options for differentiated learning. Well, language assessment literacy is heavily emphasized for them to gain knowledge of key assessment concepts, to develop skills for the construction of assessment items and evaluation, both summative and formative forms of assessment. This enables them to focus on the implementation of classroom-based assessment. Furthermore, focus is also given on the types of alternative assessment that can be implemented to gauge student-teachers' understanding. This is to move away from the traditional mode of assessing students, which is rather predictable. So indirectly, we are adhering to the SDG 4, converging towards qualitative education. The way trainees are assessed reflects the assessment that teachers are expected to implement in the classroom. So in short, IPG curriculum encapsulates the essential and core elements, as well as values that form the basic tenets of the structure to enable holistic development of our future teachers. These prepare pre-service teachers to embrace the challenges in the real world. This is hoped to elevate the current teaching learning scenarios and enable student teachers to be able to counter current challenges in the teaching of ESL in particular, and prepare them for the real world. That's probably Dr. Chitra. Over to you.
Pre-service training helps prepare our trainee teachers for work in primary schools as well as preschools for the early childhood teachers. Now, let's listen to what happens in the universities for teachers who enter secondary schools. Prof will enlighten us on how trainees are prepared. Prof, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Chitra. Basically, okay, regardless whether it's preschool, primary, or even secondary school, because the framework which has been introduced actually encapsulate all the three levels of education, starting from preschool up till secondary school. So many of the things which Dr. Hamida has actually mentioned, okay, regarding the competences, regarding the four core competences as well as 8 transversal competences, they are all also the same for the secondary teacher education framework. Okay, and I think since 2020, many universities offering TESOL programs, there are 10 altogether. They have started to revamp their curriculum to adopt to the key principles which have been suggested by Cambridge English based on the new teacher education framework just now. Okay, so however, universities are a little bit unique. Okay, in the sense that each university has a niche area, and in terms of curriculum, okay, one university might be different from the other. So basically, when we talk about curriculum for training teachers at the secondary level, okay, we cannot actually get the same for all the 10 universities. Okay, so in other words, okay, because like I said, the focus and the niche area of the university plays a very important role in the development of the curriculum, because we have, like university courses and all that we need to take into consideration. However, universities need to adapt the structure of the curriculum proposed to meet the requirement, yeah, and because of that, they also need to be looking into how best that they can actually implement the curriculum. However, when the last time when we had a workshop, we all agreed, all these universities which are offering the TESOL program, we all agreed that the courses that we offer should enable our student teachers to become proficient English teachers. Okay, indirectly, at the end of the whole program, they should be able to achieve the minimum CFR band C1 in terms of their language development. The courses should also engage our students, teachers in active learning, and focus on student-centered or learner-centered. So a lot more of group work, collaborative tasks, and of course a strong focus on teaching and learning in the classroom by incorporating a loop learning element, meaning that it's not their teaching and learning experience should not be compartmentalized, but keep on, there's a strong link between one course to another that gives a holistic experience of how they can learn to teach. Besides that, we also tried, there should be, like what Dr. Mead was saying just now, a consistent approach in terms of linking between theory and practice. There is also importance to establish a systematic, collaborative and data-led approach towards reflective practice. So that's why reflective practice is actually being introduced quite early in the secondary curriculum, so that it can be built, until the end of the duration of their study. The use of digital or ICT should also be introduced consistently, okay, so that the student teachers can actually apply and use that knowledge when they are teaching later in schools. Finally, there's a need for the integration of the CFR, Common European Framework Reference, in the redesign program to the language proficiency courses, language skill courses, as well as classroom-based pedagogical courses, which correspond to the CFR-aligned syllabus in schools. We believe in giving our student teachers meaningful learning experiences in learning how to teach, so that they can become our agents of change in schools.
Thank you, Prof. and Dr. Mead for the clear explanation on how pre-service training incorporates elements of a responsive type of curriculum, linking theories to theories of teaching and learning to activities in the classroom, and to apply this in authentic teaching situations. Authentic, that's the key word. I also like your stress on reflective practices too, Prof. This is very useful for teachers, these reflective practices, especially to incorporate responsive type of curriculum in the classroom and for quality teaching and learning delivery in the classroom. Before we go on, I would like to remind the participants, all those viewers who are listening, sorry, not participants, but the viewers who are listening to this webinar, that you are encouraged to post your questions, your comments in the chat box, and also that the link for the attendance is also posted in the chat box for all the teachers to mark the attendance for the webinar. Thank you. Okay, now that we know how novice teachers are prepared for English language teaching and learning in school, let's listen to the support that's given to them when they are in school. ELTC, as the main in-service training provider for English language teachers, plays a major role in ensuring that teachers get the much needed support. Dr. Mindy, do share with us the current in-service training scenario. Back to you, Dr. Mindy.
Thank you, Dr. Chitra. Good afternoon. A very good day to all panel members and also our beloved audience, all the teachers out there. I hope that you're having a wonderful time. Right, and now the MOE is very cognizant of the role of professional development on the career and continuous professional development of teachers. And in order to ensure that there is a caretaker for teacher CPD, ELTC was established in 2002. And today, the ELTC acts as the main training provider of CPD for all in-service English language teachers. Under the MBM-MBI policy, numerous professional development courses are provided for ELT teachers. If you see on the slide, you will find the number of courses under the MBM-MBI that are provided. Yeah, and if you look at number 5, we have currently also updated and transformed many of our courses online. So we have almost 33 online courses related to English language as well as technology in the English language classroom provided on our platform. Now, the CPD courses provided at ELTC include pedagogy-based courses or programs that focus on strengthening teachers' knowledge and skills in the area of curriculum delivery, enhancing teaching and learning practices, and strengthening teachers' understanding and skills in assessment. We also have proficiency-based courses that focus on upskilling teacher proficiency. Then we have content-based courses that aim to enhance teachers' knowledge in subject matter. And finally, what you see on the slide are technology-based courses that aim to enhance teachers' knowledge and skills in using digital tools and technology in the language classroom. Some of the technology-based courses include using digital tools such as Edpuzzle, Padlet, quizzes in teaching. And today we have, as I mentioned just now, a total of 33 technology-related courses for teachers to enhance the delivery of their lessons based on ICT in the language classroom. Now, prior to the pandemic, almost all CPD programs were mainly conducted through the face-to-face mode. However, the onset of the pandemic caused major disruptions to face-to-face trainings. Therefore, in order to ensure that teachers continued to receive professional development training, most of our CPD courses were provided via online modes, mainly fully online or blended. For the systematic delivery of CPD training, ELTC developed a Cpd Framework, which was developed in collaboration with Cambridge English. Now, there's a slide related to the framework. The framework maps all our courses across 4 tiers and 8 domains, which you can see on this slide here. The 4 tiers are foundation, developing, proficient, and expert. Now, teachers can develop their knowledge, skills, and professional values in teaching by going to this framework and looking for their own CPD pathways. Teachers are encouraged to sign up for courses they would like to follow on this platform, which acts as a directory of courses, a gateway that leads teachers to a learning platform where courses are in fact parked. Now, the courses are based on needs, interests, and assessment. The Improve portal on which this CPD framework is parked is also aligned to the TPAC framework to ensure successful EdTech integration into the classroom. Improve participants can earn points, badges, as well as e-certificates, which can be tracked using the Improve Educator profile. Participants who have earned professional development hours from Improve courses can also record their learning hours in SPL KPM under the e-pembelajaran. So this is a little bit about the focus as well as the structure of training provided by the ELTC. Dr. Chitra?
Yes, thank you for this explanation, Dr. Mindy. Very clearly states that teachers can, inquire about the courses that they are interested in from ELTC for their self-improvement, as well as to provide quality teaching and learning in the classrooms. And I'm very taken up by your training portal that is called Improve. I hope the teachers who are listening to this will get to use this Improve, go online and find out what is there that is suitable for them. All right. And based on what Prof, Dr. Mead and Dr. Mindy has said, training is provided. Okay, all the teachers are prepared with the sources and the information that they need, but it is up to the teachers to adopt and adapt to the needs of their students in the classroom according to the context. Because children in Sarawak, in Ululubai, their needs varies or differs from the students in Kuala Lumpur. So it's the teacher's responsibility to teach according to the needs of the students using the training that has been given to them. All right, let's move on, Dr. Mead, Professor, and Dr. Mindy. Let's look at this mass training that was given to all the teachers regarding CEFR. Okay, CFR informed curriculum, CFR informed assessment, teaching and learning, and materials were carried out, I think, by carried out by MOE, but I think this mass training was completed by 2020. So how are these incoming teachers provided with this information? All right, so that the teaching and learning that they deliver in the classroom is CFR aligned. Maybe Dr. Mindy, you can tell us how ELTC is involved in ensuring that all teachers are constantly provided with this knowledge.
Okay, sure, Dr. Chitra. So based on the aspirations that were set within the roadmap for English language, the English language curriculum, teaching and learning, as well as assessment, have been aligned to international standards referring to the CEFR framework. The alignment process was done with the assistance of Cambridge English, who referred to the CEFR framework. Information transfer and training on the aligned areas of ELT were done by ELTC as well as other related divisions such as the curriculum division, the examination syndicate. A group of master trainers received first-hand training on the CEFR from Cambridge English, and these master trainers then cascaded the training to teachers across the nation. So training has already been cascaded to the group of teachers in the areas of curriculum induction, teaching and learning, assessment, as well as learning material adaptation. So currently, to ensure that all incoming teachers receive the same training and at the same volume, ELTC via our improved platform has already uploaded the curriculum induction, teaching and learning assessment as LMA training for the new teachers to follow. So they can follow the training fully online, and they can also follow the training via blended modes where we have put up training that opens at certain times of the year. So teachers follow these courses. So they're constantly there. And at the same time, ELTC has also uploaded some of the materials related to the training that was given by CE. So in that sense, teachers are continuously able to access training via our improved platform. And most of these training activities that we do now at ELTC, we absorb these can-do statements from the CEFR framework into all our activities and tasks that are designed in all our new modules that we are offering to teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Mindy. I see that there's a tremendous amount of information in the improved platform.
Yes.
So teachers out there, you must make use of this opportunity, get onto the improved platform to equip yourself with the knowledge regarding CFR and the latest teaching and learning strategies. It's no more we can say that we don't know, because the information is already out there, and it is our responsibility, I think, as teachers to go and get the information. I'm sure all of you will agree with me, Dr. Mead, Prof, and Dr. Mindy, that it's the onus is on the teachers to get this information, right? Because you have already stated the sources where you can get the information. Okay, let's move on, Dr. Mead and Prof. How are teacher trainees introduced to this knowledge related to CFR?
The training in IPG is in tandem with the current needs of the schools, as mentioned earlier. Right? In IPG, the current curriculum documents such as DSKP, KSPK, right? All these are referred to closely throughout the training. So CFR is evidently explored during the planning and the implementation of curriculum. So the curriculum documents are curated with the inclusion of CFR so as to enable the trainees to implement the infused element in their teaching as well as keep up to date with the current developments in the education field. CFR information is incorporated in the curriculum, assessment materials, design and pedagogy-based courses. In example, curriculum studies, language assessment, and also integrated skills in the primary ESL classroom, our current courses. Okay, so teaching and practice is a course in which is offered before they leave for practicum, right? So here they are trained to develop lesson plans, teaching and learning materials where they will refer to the curriculum standards, learning standards and performance standards. Moreover, in the language assessment paper, they practice designing CFR-aligned assessment tasks. These core courses are crucial in equipping the pre-service teachers, right, with CFR-related essential knowledge and pedagogical practices.
Prof, could you please highlight to us how the trainees in universities are equipped with knowledge regarding CFR?
Okay, first and foremost, at the university, not all the lecturers are actually familiar, okay, with CFR. So therefore, the first thing for us to do is to familiarize all the lecturers, you know, with the CFR framework, so that, you know, before they actually teach the training teachers, they have a very strong foundation themselves, so they can actually transform whatever their understanding, you know, emulating the principles and all that into their teaching and learning process. So basically, when we revamp or we revise our curriculum, we always have a series of workshops. So these workshops is actually is also a training session, okay, for all the lecturers, in which, you know, when they look into courses, they have to think of the deliveries, the 8 transversal competences across the 4 core competences. So they need to be understanding all those principles, because they need to also make use of those principles and transform those principles into their teaching and learning. So you know, and we usually, we do not leave our lecturers, you know, no doubt that at university sometimes it's individual coursework, but of course at the same time also we have a lot of moderations, we have a lot of sharing of best practices. So in a way, we ensure that there is a balance in terms of integrating all those competences throughout the 4 years program. So on the other hand, for the student teachers, okay, we want our student teachers to undergo a meaningful learning experiences. So meaning that when they go through this learning experiences on learning how to teach based on the principles, based on, you know, the ideas, and of course it should mirror closely to what is actually happening in school, so that, you know, there will not be any loopholes, or there shouldn't be any gap at all. So when they go out to teach in schools, they should be able to straight away implement the curriculum, the CFR aligned syllabus, which is already being implemented in school. So basically, the kind of assessment that we do, the kind of teaching and learning that we expose our student teachers, you know, we try to as much as possible, we want to make sure that it is introduced early. For instance, like you know, on the CFR curriculum, the assessment, we the 21st century learning, we start quite early, actually, from the very first semester, okay, because we have the first teaching methodology. So no doubt that at that time they are actually not introduced to designing lesson plans and whatnot, but they already have been introduced to the underlying principles of what CFR is. And they also through their language skills development, okay, their course learning outcomes mirror exactly the kind of can-do statements in which they are required to achieve. So we hope that they do not only understand this thing in terms of just what is written or in terms of like information, but we also want them to interpret all this information and translate that into their own practice. So indirectly, it's very challenging, but we want our students to to expose them, to actually to empower them to make informed decisions regarding practice based on their understanding of the principles of the teaching and learning, the formative assessment, what kind of assessment that they need to be doing. So in terms of all the courses that they go through, we have shifted from lecture based towards more active student-centered learning, more workshops, and the kind of assessment we move towards, a lot of alternative assessment by introducing them the use of portfolios, the use of peer assessment and whatnot. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Very aptly put that the teachers at the university are, taught in such a way that they are available. I mean, they are able to adapt to the real life situation in the schools in relation to curriculum, assessments, and teaching and learning, and also to the authentic situation, right? I'm sure that the three of you will agree with me that training comes with a lot of challenges, right? So let's discuss the challenges that's faced while training these teachers to make them suitable for the situation in school. Let's listen to Dr. Mitz's opinion on this, the challenges that IPGs are facing. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Mitz.
Thank you, Dr. Chitra. Okay, we are talking about challenges. Yeah? So one of the biggest challenges in training the pre-service teachers at the IPG at the moment is to deal with the impact of pandemic COVID-19. Right? Talking about challenges, let's talk about what's now. Okay, the situation created a lull period in education whereby the impact was felt across all levels. So pre-service teachers generally lack adequate exposure to real-time teaching. So at that time, the professional practice component, for example, practicum, is conducted online. So therefore, many difficulties as they have no ideas on how to carry out lessons online, as our curriculum at that time prepares them to face-to-face teaching. So we are dealing with the impact of pandemic COVID-19. Yeah. Right, so at the same time, pupils went through the home-based learning or PDPR, in which it was reported that a substantial number of young learners were not able to follow the online lessons due to various personal and contextual reasons. So this scenario demands teachers to close the knowledge gaps that took place during the pandemic period. For example, pupils who were in year 1 when the pandemic struck are now in year 3. And or maybe those who were in year 3 are now in year 5. Imagine the knowledge gap that these pupils experience. Well, hence, it is important for the training of the present batch to prepare pre-service teachers to overcome and compensate for the knowledge vacuum experienced during the 2-year pandemic onslaught. So we need to expose them to diverse and applicable teaching approaches and techniques that are user-friendly and flexible enough to cater to the ever-changing educational landscape. For example, they need to be given knowledge and skills to create learning materials containing compensation inputs such as supplementary modules to help those whose learning was significantly affected by the pandemic. In addition, we need to also review our approach, all right, the lecturers. We need to review our approach to teaching English to young learners, whether or not it is relevant. Then pandemic has changed the way people learn, including young learners. So therefore, it is our challenge now to make sure our lecturers are equipped with adequate knowledge and skills on practical approaches that could be incorporated in our training, so that pre-service teachers that we produce could effectively implement the language classroom. We want our pre-service teachers to be equipped with the skills to create interesting teaching and learning activities so as to get the pupils motivated to learn the language. Another challenge is to make sure all pre-service teachers graduated from the program with an adequate level of English language proficiency as stipulated in the SPI. Right? Everybody is talking about this actually. Right? They need to have good command of language to conduct lessons effectively in the classroom. So what we are doing right now is to conduct programs and activities to give as many opportunities for the pre-service teachers and to be immersed in the language when they are on campus. So we need to develop their competence and confidence in using the language when they go to school later. So they can be one of the best sources of language input for the pupils.
Thank you, Dr. Meet. Yes, I agree with you. The pandemic, yes, as a disruptor has forced us to make many changes in life, and also we are required, we have learned to find alternative ways to carry out our normal duties, and I'm sure you're also training the teachers to always find out alternative ways to carry out the teaching and learning in schools. And Prof, are the challenges at public universities similar to the challenges faced in IPG? The floor is yours, Prof.
Okay, of course, there are some similarities as well as differences. Okay, but one of the challenges for universities, especially in in designing the curriculum, the new teacher education curriculum framework, is the number of credit hours. Okay, because the number of credit hours which was suggested by Cambridge English, is very big. It's almost impossible. However, to have everything which have been suggested would be ideal, but not possible. Okay, for instance, of course we have components, right, at the university, and we have so many other professional education courses as well as elective courses, which we also need to take into consideration. And the higher education division in Mohi, they have like 31 strategies which universities need to look into in developing their academic programs. So, we have a lot of things to consider, but of course, the universities, we are all trying our best in order to make sure that the curriculum is actually implemented the way, taking into the spirits and the principles that should be taken. That should be the focus of for the outcome of our teachers to be. Okay. And we have actually implemented in UPSI, we have implemented the new teacher education framework curriculum last year in October 2021. So the first cohort now is going to be in the second semester. However, we can't really observe its full implementation yet, especially in semester one. And to make things worse, okay, due to the pandemic COVID-19, okay, the classes were all carried out online, and of course it would be challenging for both the lecturers as well as the student teachers, to have active learning, collaborative tasks synchronously, due to students' limitations, okay, such as many of them have limited bandwidth, and sometimes when you are having classes, you don't really know how they look like because you will be the only person who's actually turning on the camera, but the rest of the classes are all you can't really see faces, but you just can see their names. And based on my personal experience, I was teaching pedagogy last semester, and I spent many countless hours just trying to get my student teachers to understand what is differentiated instruction and how to implement those differentiated instruction cooperative learning strategies, formative assessment in their lessons, when they are actually developing their lesson, their lesson plans. So having hands-on and practice-based activities online, they were quite, not quite, they were challenging, okay, when actually I had 50 student teachers with me at the same time. So, however, student teachers, they are coming back in October for face-to-face learning. So this is like a new hope for us, okay, so that we can actually monitor the implementation of this new teacher education framework.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Very interesting indeed. How online teaching and learning, it's difficult for adults, what more for students in the classroom. And teachers have about 30, 40, 50, even some schools have 50 students in the classroom. And they really, hats off to them for implementing online teaching and learning. I'm quite interested in knowing what your student teachers, when they come back, after their teaching practicum, they come back for face-to-face learning, and I'm sure they'll have a lot of information for you, which you can find, use it to review the new teacher education framework, I'm sure. All right. We have got to know the challenges in IPG and the challenges in universities. Now, I'm sure Dr. Mindy will have her own story to tell us. Yes, Dr. Mindy? Mindy, your challenges?
Okay. Yes, Dr. Chitra.
Yeah.
So, like all other training institutions, we in the in-service training division also have our challenges. Some are the typical challenges and some are those related to the pandemic. Firstly, we need to continuously ensure that the content of training is always updated, because education evolves, it changes to the needs and demands and the context. So what we provide to the teachers will have to be relevant to current times, relevant to the teachers' needs, relevant to their context. And this is not easy because we are training adults. Our participants come from various age groups with a variety of previous knowledge, experiences, as well as resources. Our trainers are all trained in andragogy principles, and they are trained on how to handle participants, especially those who may be very senior in age and experience and have a rich variety of context to bring into the training classroom. So the training approach that we use has to be specific, cutting out all unnecessary theoretical underpinnings and focusing on the experiences of our participants, because our participants have this whole wealth of theory that they have received during their trainings. What they want to know now is, how do I put all of this into practice? Given the group of students who I have, some are dealing with very good students, some are dealing with average students, and some are dealing with students from the back-end classes. So they want to know. So because of this, we have to use lots of real-life cases in our training to facilitate knowledge transfer and to try and make our training hands-on. So what we do then is that we draw from the problems of the participants in real classroom teaching and learning. We engage in discussions or problem solving to create new knowledge for our participants. Because if they don't see new knowledge, they are soon going to be bored and they will not want to follow our training at all. Yeah. So in other words, we really need to train through tapping on experiences, given that adults learn very much by sharing experiences. And when the pandemic came, we had another challenge in training. We had to transfer all of our courses that were face-to-face via online modes. Yeah. So this transfer was at first very challenging because first and foremost, we needed to get the teachers to be ICT savvy. How is teacher going to access Google Slides during the training? How are they going to go into breakout rooms? So a session has to be given just on that before the proper training takes place. See? And also identifying the right kind of learning platforms, teacher-friendly kind of platforms where we can conduct training. Teachers also had very little knowledge on digital tools, digital applications, and this sort of training had to be given to them, all by doing a needs analysis to find out what are the things that teachers really needed. So the pandemic in the first 2 years was a slight setback in terms of smoothness and the ease of conducting training. But we were able to challenge these needs, because we do have lecturers who are very IT savvy at ELTC, and we are thankful to all of them. Now, so to this extent, what we encourage at ELTC is that all our courses, inset courses, online courses, we encourage that teachers engage a lot into approaches to CPD, which include peer discussions. So like what was shown on the slide just now, including a peer-led culture of professional development for teachers that supports a collaborative approach to professional development. And this allows the teachers to have more responsibility over their own progress, over their own development, as well as to support the professional development of their colleagues. One thing that we realized, one of the challenges for in-service training was we realized that by just providing training in a centralized situation, it was difficult for us to reach out to many teachers. So we needed teachers to help teachers. We really needed that on the ground. Teachers, we trained a set of teachers, and we wanted them to help their colleagues, their peers in the schools. Those teachers were very IT savvy, were identified, and they were trained, and we needed their assistance. So that led to what we call this peer-led culture of professional development, where professional development then, what we're encouraging is that it should be a collective approach. So it should not be one teacher attending centralized training and then that's it. What we want is that if one teacher is good, it will not be successful in the school if it's only that one teacher, because the other teachers need to be empowered as well. It's only then that the school can achieve its best in terms of student performance and student outcomes. So there has to be this shared belief, a shared vision, and a shared mission for teachers to professionally develop themselves and also their colleagues if the school is to be successful. So these were some of the challenges we face, and we try to find ways of overcoming these challenges, Dr. Chitra.
Thank you, Dr. Mindy. When you're talking about peer-led culture of professional development, I'm sure you're talking about professional learning communities, yes. Right?
Yes, true, Dr. Chitra. Professional learning communities, but with an edge of that, it should be collectively done. Because if it's only a few teachers, the school and the students are not really going to benefit from it. For example, we are now training teachers on remedial instruction. One teacher gets the training, and when we go for our training visits, we expect that this teacher has shared it with all the other teachers. Otherwise, it's not going to really work very effectively, because one knows and the other does not know.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, a reminder to our participants, please post your comments, questions, and maybe some of you may have ideas or suggestions that can be picked up by IPGs, ELTC, or the universities, to improve teaching and learning in our teaching and learning training for our teachers. So do not hesitate, post your suggestions, your comments, and your ideas in the chat box. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Dr. Mindy, while you are at it, I'm sure you realize that IPGM, university, and ELTCs are constantly discussing on how to improve the training that is provided for pre-service and in-service respectively. Okay, but here I would like Dr. Mindy to suggest how pre-service providers can, or what pre-service providers can focus on so that the novice teachers are better prepared for schools.
Okay,
yes,
sure, Dr. Chitra.
Yes.
I believe that the pre-service teacher training, they're doing a great job So congrats to Dr. Media. They're doing a great job at providing the trainees with knowledge as well as pedagogical input. So the other aspect, I think, is looking at the application of theory into real-time practice. Because what you receive and how you then transfer it into the school are two different things. And this is where perhaps the focus can be further enhanced. So to ease this transition from training into the profession, maybe novice teachers need to be more exposed to real-time classroom teaching and learning experiences during their training. The more, the better. Now, this will provide them with insights into how to manage students, the discipline problems, which theoretically are very easy to discuss and define as well as solve. But in a real setting, it can be very difficult. Because I remember some of the observations I did with teachers, although they have received the theoretical aspects of classroom discipline and management, I've personally seen students picking up chairs and pointing at each other and teacher not being able to actually control that. So you see, they really need to be exposed to real-time problems and then how to adapt, how to adopt their training content. So more school-based experience will truly help, and it can be done. Trainees need to also be exposed to current teaching documents and current intervention programs. There are so many new things happening in school, and the teacher training divisions need to constantly update teachers on this, perhaps via induction at the end of their training or some kind of workshops. This is to familiarize the teachers, the trainees, with educational and social context of the school. So when they go into school, they know what is happening. They're not shocked by, oh, this is something I've not heard of. I did not know about this program, those sort of things. So it has to continuously be updated and evolved. It is also important, I feel, that mentoring be provided for the first 3 years to these new teachers or novice teachers by the training institution. This is very important because in the first 3 years, the new teachers go in, they either are able to successfully perform or then they blend in with the culture and the context of the school. And that may take them away from all the theoretical applications completely. And then they just get drowned into the culture of the school. Sometimes the school contexts are very different. So if there is this mentoring taking place, it can be a combined activity done by IPGM as well as inter-service training plus the UAs. Yeah. So training institutes can collaborate with these divisions as well as with school heads to give the kind of support they need, also from the senior teachers in school. Now, the post-pandemic era has also changed the landscape of teaching and learning drastically. And in current day, it has become very necessary for all teacher trainees to be digitally literate. And this again is in line with the DASA Pendidikan Digital Negara. So training institute can ensure that courses provided expose trainees to digital pedagogies, which are very different from conventional pedagogies or face-to-face pedagogies. Digital pedagogies, their demands and expectations are slightly different. Digital technologies, digital tools. Do teachers know how to use Padlet? Do they know how to use Genially, things like that, as well as applications? And finally, Dr. Chitra and everyone, teachers out there, I believe that teacher training plays a major role in developing the mindset of novice teachers about their moral obligation towards their profession and their students. Just to give you an example, in Finland, a country always referred to for the quality of its teachers and teaching, teachers in Finland view their profession as a commitment of a lifetime. So they do not go there just to teach and to complete their 8 or 9 hours, but it is a commitment of a lifetime. And when one teacher is not able to handle a student, another teacher is invited to help and assist this teacher to be able to handle and to be able to provide the support. So it is not like one teacher to one class or one student, it's all teachers to all students and all classes. So it becomes very collective in that sense. And the ethical code for teaching in Finland, established since 1998, defines dignity, truthfulness, responsibility, fairness, and commitment to students as their core value. And these values go a long way in strengthening the passion for teaching. So that's the one final thing that IPGs should instill, the passion and the commitment for teaching and to make teaching a lifetime profession. Thank you, Dr. Chitra.
Yes, Dr. Mindy, I agree with you. And I'm sure Dr. Min and Prof also agree with you. Teaching cannot be equated to a 9-to-5 job or completing files. It's a commitment of a lifetime. I agree with you. Even after school hours, you go back, a teacher always thinks of her students, how to improve the students' skills in the next class. It is always in the teacher's mind. Now, I'm sure all the teacher training lecturers are taking note of what was said by Dr. Mindy just now. Now, let's look. I'm sure Dr. Min and Prof also will have some ideas on how in-service training can be improved, or what are the strategies that can be added on to in-service training so that the teachers are able to better adapt in schools. Okay, because pre-service training will know the weaknesses or what are the skills that need more polishing. So with this, I invite Dr. Mid to tell us how ELTC can focus on in-service training. Not only ELTC, but other divisions which are involved in providing in-service training. Yes, Dr. Mid.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chitra. After listening to Dr. Mindy, I realized that we have to actually work hand in hand in a way, right? From pre-service, it will go to the in-service. It goes, continuously as it is. Well, as the pre-service education provider, right? We feel that it is important to provide soft landing for our teachers. I look at the novice teachers first, right? So especially as they move from pre-service phase to the in-service phase. These teachers specifically, they need to be given adequate support, particularly during their first year, as they might face a lot of confusion, in adjusting to their new context. Induction course perhaps will allow them to be introduced to a sense of real teaching and teaching learning scenario. This is particularly important for those who graduated during the pandemic, as they lack real-time teaching experience. So I'm talking about, still taking the example. I mean, the pandemic era is the era that we are focusing on. Well, this group of teachers needs to be supported mentally and pedagogically. Emphasis needs to be given in setting the right mindset and equipping them with the pedagogical knowledge and skills to deal with pupils who are also affected by pandemic. Right? These pupils need interesting and impactful language learning activities so they can see the relevance of learning language in the classroom at present era. For more senior teachers, perhaps refresher courses that provide opportunities for them to upgrade their knowledge and skills to teach pupils in this new era is also important. As you mentioned, that teachers need to be, IT savvy and so on. Right, so CPD courses that focus on equipping teachers with recent pedagogical strategies, developing assessment materials for pupils of diverse needs, and enhancing teacher assessment literacy are some of the training focuses that could be taken into consideration. So a CPD on enhancing teacher identity, teacher quality, which focuses on teacher image, teacher philosophy, or teacher talk will be a platform for teachers to share experiences related to their teaching. Besides providing sessions of critical reflection from the teachers can contribute to the improvement or betterment of our education. Basically, as stated in the Educational Sustainable Development, which aims at developing competences that empower individuals to reflect on their own actions, taking into account their current and future social, cultural, economic, environmental impacts. From a local and a global perspective, the courses or the CPD should be geared to develop individuals to be empowered in a sustainable manner, which in turn creative and effective and productive teaching and learning environment.
Well said, Dr. Meet. Yeah, because in-service training is something that the trainees get 4 years before, whereas CPD is current, right? And CPD is something that the teachers can apply for according to their needs. I'm sure Prof also has something to add on to this. Yes, Prof.
We always believe when we talk about professional development, we always believe that professional development begins when the teachers are already in school. But if we look into current literature on professional development, okay, for teachers, it should begin early, even when they are still undergoing their teacher education programs. So that is something that we need to be looking into as well. No doubt, values, skills, knowledge, competencies, and competences, okay, they are all important elements for professional development. However, I would like to suggest also on how we can actually focus on our teachers to become leaders of their own classroom. Okay, having leadership qualities, I mean, this is actually very important for them to make informed decisions pertaining to their own classroom situations. When we talk about having leadership qualities, sometimes we tend to talk about promotion purposes or organizational leadership. But I think we should focus more on teacher leadership or the distributive kind of leadership in an organization. So this is actually based on the humanistic learning model. Teachers need to see themselves as critical role models. So whatever decisions that they make in the classroom matters, So no doubt that, we have all these brilliant teachers, but many of our teachers are actually waiting to be knocked, then only they would do something. For instance, as please forgive me, I'm not commenting on teachers out there, but I always tell my students itself also, for instance, like formative assessment. When we look at the principles of formative assessment, it's basically things that we do every day in and out of our classroom. But the interpretation of the formative assessment is something which is so difficult for teachers to do, in which indirectly they are actually doing it every day in the classroom. So, these are the things why I said we need to empower our teachers, and they need to see they need to have these leadership qualities. They are the captain and the ship of the classroom, and where do they want to bring this classroom, because they are the one who knows what is actually happening in the classroom and the level of the students, okay, the kind of students that they have. So that is one of the things, and not let others make the decision for them. So we need, that's why you see in UPSI, I always call my students agents of change, because I want them to make, the differences with this knowledge that you have, with all these skills that you have. How can you make a difference, not even in school, in your own classroom, okay, in your own classroom. So we need to have teachers to have vision, okay, vision of their own classroom, and having the ability to make effective decision making, inspire students to learn, okay, and they are able to resolve conflicts in the classroom, maybe in terms of teaching and learning, assessment, or even learners' diversity, okay, because that is actually a big issue in many of the Malaysian classrooms. So empowering teachers to make wise decisions by being reflective practitioners in the truest sense, not becoming reflective practitioner just for the sake of submitting report, but reflective practitioner in the truest sense, meaning that they study their own classroom, they know their students' ability and what kind of changes that they want to make, in order to enable their students to learn. So in order to do that, I would like to share with everyone in UPSI now we have a course which is called Professional Teachers. Okay, so with this course, I was one of those who are actually involved in developing the course. We introduced discourse in semester 5, okay? And this is the only course in which all the course learning objectives measure the affective domains. So there is no cognitive domains, no doubt that some of the tasks, like for instance, community engagement that they have to do, they need to be reflecting themselves, they need to be coming up with their own identity as teachers. No doubt that, of course, it requires cognitive ability to be doing the task, but we do not actually measure, okay, their cognitive ability, but more of the affective domain. So this course has actually been introduced for 2 semesters now, and now we are in the process of studying and looking into how impactful is this course in terms of bridging the gap between professional identity as well as personal identity of the student teacher, and how do we actually make sure that, you know, there would be an integrated soul at the end of it, that is the soul and passion for teaching.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Wonderful. Professional teachers course. I'm sure all the teachers hope it is also offered to in-service teachers too. All right. Before we move on, okay, teachers are trained and sent to schools. While in school, they are encouraged to attend CPD and engage in PLCs, professional learning communities. But finally, as quoted by Albert Einstein, it is the supreme art of a teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge to students. So how teachers are supported in training and how teachers use the knowledge gained from formal and informal manners are the key to quality teaching and learning received by our children. So before we end our discussion today, I have one last question for our 3 panelists. What would your advice be for our youngsters who are planning to become teachers, those who are already in the IPGs training to become teachers, and IPGs and universities training to become teachers, and also for the in-service teachers, some of whom who are a little disappointed or a little discouraged? So I think we will start with Dr. Mit. Yes, Dr. Mit, what is your advice?
Thank you, Dr. Chitra. Okay, I would like to answer your questions by taking this quote actually. A teacher takes a hand, opens a mind, and touches a heart. Okay, so being a teacher means you're ready to make an impact on the lives of people, to the students, to the school community, and also the community outside the school. A teacher is a leader, a role model, an influencer. A teacher who religiously does his or her task in classroom does not only share knowledge to the students, but also give direction by opening their minds and, more importantly, by touching their lives in so many ways. So their decisions become outcomes of their learning. They develop their core values on the basis of what they see in us. Our dreams become their dreams. Our ideals become their ideals. Consciously or unconsciously, they imitate our thoughts and actions. A wrong set of values handled on can unmake an individual for life. As a rule, values handed on can unmake. As a rule, therefore, teachers teach by what they are rather than by what they say. So there is not much material rewards in this career, but intangible ones are great. With the strength of moral decadency, self-reliance, and determination that we inculcate among our students, we become instruments to the creation of productive and morally upright citizens of the country. Some of our students really do not care how much we know until they see how much we care. So intelligence is only secondary to love and concern, meaning we make a stronger impact to our students if and when we are able to offer ourselves to them. As we fulfill our life's purpose, we adhere to God's divine plan and calling. So, my advice, if you want to be a teacher, set the right mindset, come on board, and be proud of the journey you are embarking in. Thank you.
Very well said, Dr. Mee. Very well said. Thank you. What about you, Prof? Your advice to the teachers.
You see, because of the many responsibilities that the teacher has to take, okay, and the many roles he or she needs to play, the teacher must be well motivated, and to sustain your motivation, I think is actually very important. You have to be energetic, vibrant, forceful, and full of life and vigor in order to fully manage, your classroom, because the most effective way to deal with difficult behavior is to first to prevent it. Okay, so in some, if you are a dynamic person, please join the teaching profession. Okay, but of course, dynamism with professional integrity. Okay, at the end of it all, I think the most rewarding is to become an inspirational model for your learners. Not for everybody. If you're not an influencer on TikTok or even on Instagram and whatnot with so many followers, but if you are an influencer to your students, I think that is actually an achievement.
Thank you, Prof. I like the word inspirational model. And I hope I was an inspirational model when I was a teacher. And I'm sure our other panelists also will agree to that. And well, Dr. Mindy, what do you have to say to the teachers out there?
Thank you, Dr. Chitra. I would like to start by sharing with the teachers out there the power that they have. And I would like to take the quote from Malala Yousafzai. One child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. So if a teacher wants to, she or he can change the life of a child, of a student, of a person to become a great person in the future. So for teachers who are interested in wanting to join the profession, I would also like to refer everyone back to Shift 4, where the commitment has been made to ensuring that teaching becomes the profession of choice. So if you want to become a teacher, it is a choice that you have made. And to keep yourself, to sustain yourself as an effective teacher, I would like to ask teachers out there to continue to develop their professional competencies, be at par with international standards. International standards have been brought into our curriculum, our teaching and learning, and as well as our assessment, and we have to professionally deliver this at par with international standards. As a teacher, be ready to develop critical and an analytical mindset. Now that's very important, and a growth mindset, because a growth mindset will keep you positive through all the challenges that you may face in the teaching profession. Reflect upon your practices, as was mentioned by panel members earlier, reflective practice, which is very important for self-improvement. Engage in critical dialogues. Ask other peers, other teachers, what are my weaknesses? And then improve on those. And tell the other teachers truthfully where they require improvement. Work as friends. Do not work individually. Work collectively. Be a critical reader, because much knowledge comes from reading. So if a teacher is not a critical reader, you will not be able to share with your students different ideas. You will not be able to innovate your practices. Do not just wait for courses to be given to you. Be the change that you want to be yourself. Adapt and adopt to new pedagogies. The pandemic has taught us a great lesson that we should always be ready to change. Who knows, such a time may come again. For those aspiring to be teachers, tell yourself, change is a necessity. Change leads to betterment. both the institution as well as to the students. And at the same time, develop a moral commitment towards your profession. Be a teacher that makes the difference. I think that's what I would like to share, Dr. Chitra, with all teachers. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yes. So in a nutshell, I'm sure all the three panelists, what they are saying is the teacher has to be engaged in lifelong learning and to practice the learning in the classroom so that quality teaching and learning is carried out for the students, for the benefit of our students. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's discussion on quality teaching and learning of English language, a responsive curriculum and support training. So thank you for joining us and hope that the elements of responsive curriculum will be incorporated into your teaching and learning in a daily basis. So I would like to thank our learned panelists, Prof. Dr. Raja, Dr. Mid and Dr. Mindy for their invaluable input, and to the viewers, the participants of the webinar for staying with us all this while. So I sign off with a quote that is very apt for teachers by Forrest Whitcroft. 100 years from now, it will not matter what kind of car I drove, what kind of house I lived in, how much money I had in the bank. But the world may be a better place because I made a difference in the life of a child. Thank you, and be a successful teacher.